Hi, I'm Jody and Mrs. Hand Painted, and welcome back to another video here on my YouTube channel. And in today's video, I'll be working on the second of this three-part series of the kitchen watercolor art, and this one is the Whisk. And I hope you have fun painting along with this and making some other kitchen watercolor art. There are two more paintings in this series. There's a spatula and a rolling pin that are both decorated with some floral art, and they make some really great additions to anyone's kitchen or dining room. Alright, so I am back to my little series of kitchen pun artwork, and this time I've got a whisk. I'm not sure if you can see my drawing. I have sketched that out in some water-soluble graphite pencil on Strathmore 500 series pre-cut sheet, size 8x10. And I have my whisk drawn out, my brush lettering I've traced from my computer font, which is brilliant, size 72, and I wrote the words "Whip It Good." And I am just revisiting an old project that I did when I was first starting out making tutorial videos, and I did a little time-lapse video of me making these kitchen watercolor arts. So I wanted to redo these and update it a little bit with some better flowers, because I feel like I've really improved doing my 100 days project of learning new flowers. So I'm going to go back and do this one. I'm going to start out by doing my flowers in the center of my whisk. You can reference back to my blog, mrshandpainted.com, and you can see my previous pictures of this as well as on my Instagram. And if you look back to the beginning of my videos here on YouTube, you can also find those videos showcasing the time lapse of that initial watercolor art. I am going to be using a Black Velvet Silver Brush Limited company. It's round size 10. I'm going to be making some roses here in the center. And my color palette is a coral and Hansa Yellow Light. I've mixed a tiny bit of the coral with it, and I'm using a Phthalo Turquoise for my colors. Alright, so I'm going to start out by making a rose, and I'm going to hold my brush up a little bit higher so that I'm not holding it too tightly, and I can make a nice loose rose. So I'm going to start out really fine in the center, using that tip of that brush, very lightly going around with C-shaped strokes, and just adding a little more pressure as I go around to get a heavier or thicker petal. I'm just going to go around until I get to the size that I want. And just with a light touch, just adding in some thin little strokes here and there. Alright, and I'm going to switch over to the same brush series. This is the size 6. And I've got some Hansa Yellow Light here that I mixed with just a dash of the coral, just to give me, I think, a little of my turquoise mixed in there. A little more of that yellow, a little bit of that coral, make a very orangey yellow. And I'm going to do some smaller little roses just along the side of that. Now this one kind of just tucked in there. I'll do one up here. And then I'm going to get some of my turquoise. Just make a small little turquoise rose here. And I think I'll put one right down here as well. Alright, I'm going to switch over to my Princeton Velvetouch round size 4 for my leaves. I just feel a little more confident painting my leaves with that brush. I'm mixing together a little bit of that Phthalo Turquoise with my yellow to make my green. And a nice little practice of mixing colors. And I'm going to add in my rose leaves. I'm just starting out with a point, adding more pressure as I go down to get the center, and then lifting my brush again at the end to get the point. And I'll do a couple little sprigs coming out as well, just like I did in my rolling pin. just kind of looking at where I put my flowers and where I think would balance it out. I don't want to have it very heavy on this side with lots of leaves, so it's a little heavier on this side, I'm noticing. So if you even just take a sheet of paper here, especially if you're doing something symmetrical, so I've got a lot on this side and not as much on this side because I have these bigger leaves here, so maybe I can take that chance to just add in another little sprig of leaves coming out this way. And that can balance that out. And I'm not looking for it to be completely symmetrical, but I want weight to be even. So I don't want it to feel really heavy on one side and then very sparse on the other side, I guess is the word I'm looking for. All right, I'm gonna leave the rest of this whisk alone for just a minute, and I'm gonna go down to my brush lettering that I've traced. Watch any of my other videos. I explain many times how I do that process by tracing a font with my light pad. And like I said, I'm just not as super confident with my brush lettering skills freehand as I would like to be. So I'm just going to use that Phthalo Turquoise in my round size 1. This is a Princeton Velvetouch series brush. And I'm just going to go over the pencil that I traced with my light pad. I'm using a font called Brilliant that I had on my computer. I'm pretty sure I downloaded it from a site like defont.com or 1001 Free Fonts. I have so many fonts on my computer for scrapbooking with my Cricut that I don't even remember where I got them all. But there are lots and lots of free font websites out there. If you're going to be selling items that you make from it, you may want to double check the commercial license. I'm not sure what the rules are if you trace the font and painted it, but there may be some restrictions in some fonts, so you might want to double check that. And if you have any pencil that's left over afterwards, you can erase that after the paint is dry. Okay, now my flowers look pretty good and dry. I am going to go back to my whisk here, and I want to do just a gray color. I am going to be taking a little bit of ultramarine, and I have some burnt sienna light, and I'll mix that together to get myself a nice blue-gray color. There we go. Alright, so just like in the rolling pin, I'm going to take some clean water and just wet this area first so that I don't end up with a streaky look. And then I can go back in with my gray and fill that in. And I'm just going around the flowers that I did. And this is why we do the flowers before we do this, because watercolor is transparent. If I went and did the flowers over top of my gray, you would see that through and it would distort the look of the flowers. So that's one of the tricky parts of watercolor when you're learning, is about which things should be in front. You want to paint the things in front and then fill in your background sometimes. Might be different for landscapes because you can do the sky very faintly and do trees over the top, but when you're doing something like this in an illustration format, you really need to do that before you do the background sometimes. So just something that you have to be conscious of when you are planning out a piece. All right, so I needed just a little bit more here for the tines of the whisk, so just mixing up a little bit more of my gray here, getting a little big. I'm actually going to flip my paper around, make it a little easier on myself here. And using my round size 1, I'm just going to go over my pencil lines. And you want to keep your wrist or your forearm resting on your desk just to help steady your hand if you have trouble keeping your hand steady when you're doing lines like this. So. And with a size 1 brush like this, you will have to keep reloading your brush probably after each stroke because it doesn't hold a lot of water. So just keep that in mind that you'll want to keep reloading your brush. Especially if you want to keep an even color across each little wire. All right. You can let that dry, and then if you have any little pencil lines showing through like I do here, you can take a kneaded eraser and pick up any of your extra pencil. And this is the second one in this little series that I've been doing. You can check out the rolling pin and the spatula as well here on my channel. I'll be posting those videos for you. So have fun making some kitchen artwork for yourself.